In this 24th episode of the Misal podcast, I talked to Sher Shah Hassan. He's the co founder and CEO of Kalpe, a Sharia aligned buy now, pay later service. He talks about the origin story of Kalpe, building Sharia aligned BNPL service, gleaning insights from the financial behavior of Pakistani consumers, solving buy and sell side problems, and how BNPL works, the business model, the front end, and the back end. Let's listen in. Welcome to the Misal podcast, Sher Shah. I started following you, and I felt like you would make a really good guest in terms of like these days BNPL is like basically everyone is talking about it. So would love to learn more about the industry, the market, and everything. So why don't you just start with telling me a little bit about yourself, your background, and what problem you're trying to solve with Kalpe?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm a co-founder, currently the CEO at Kalpe. I have my background in accounting and finance, did it from the University of Management Sciences, or NUMS, back in 2020. So, I stepped into this field quite early on and came up with the idea of Kalpe around about that time. So personally, I was going for a financing career myself. I did my CFA level 1 back in college, completed that successfully, and then sort of stepped into the fintech industry in early 2020. So this sort of the whole idea about Kalpe bringing a buy and localized version of buy now pay later came in around 2021. I was doing a project and studying the local consumer financing market in Pakistan. Saw two big issues. A, credit penetration is really low. And you see that in numbers when you're talking about credit cards. You see around 1.7 to 1.8 million credit cards for more than 220 million people. And then when you talk to a lot of people in the market, you see that they have resorted to informal means of lending. The interest rates they are being charged, those are exploitative, right? You're talking about 50% to anywhere up to 200 250% in annualized interest rates. Wanted to solve that problem, and buy now, pay later globally at that time was doing really good. I personally really like the model. Small ticket size item. It's a very small tenant that you have, so perfect for the target market that we had in mind. Long story short, I was joined by my co-founder Waleed quite early on. We have been best friends for the past 8-9 years. We were in A-levels together, we were in school together, then we were in college together as well. So he joined me during the early days. We bootstrapped it for the first 7-8 months. So, he was doing a job at a PropTech startup. I was working for a US-based entity. It was a 15-16 day for us during that time. So, working full-time during the day at the jobs and working full-time at night in Kalpe. Fast forward to June 21, that's when we raised our first angel investments. From local Pakistani angel investors, we quit our jobs and then started building the product and the team. The journey has been quite exciting. We made it to ODX, which is On Deck's Accelerator program, around December 21. They're quite similar to how Y Combinator operates. It's been a really good journey so far. It's always a roller coaster, I believe. But stepping into this whole industry quite early on, has its benefits and its cons as well. But where we stand today, I'm super proud of how the whole team has sort of shaped up, how the product has shaped up. That's in a nutshell how the journey has been so far.
And I want to follow up on a few things. So you mentioned like you looked into the market and you felt like there was this reason to launch something that is like not exploitative and not similar to credit cards. So what are some of the insights that you can share about like what you learned while researching, like if you should do something in this space? Like what are some of the insights that you learned?
Yeah, for sure. So when we reached out in the market, a lot of customers were not opting for credit cards because of the Sharia compliant element. So, credit cards are generally not deemed to be Sharia compliant, although if you pay back all your dues within time, there's no interest involved in the whole transaction whatsoever. So, it is sort of Sharia compliant as long as you're paying back the bank on time, right? And then secondly, we saw two segments within the market. One was for higher ticket size items, and you're talking about electronics, motorbikes and mobile phones per se. That's a ticket size between 40,000 to up to 250 to 300,000 rupees. But for that, people sort of want a longer duration as well. They're looking at least 6 to 18 months in terms of the whole tenure of the loan. Then the other segment that we saw was the average ticket size in the local e-commerce market was around anywhere between 2,000 to 3,500 rupees. That's what majority of the e-commerce players back in 2020 at least were getting. It has, of course, because of the inflation and where the prices have ended up now, it has gone up slightly. But that's the range where a lot of e-commerce were getting their average order value at. And so we realized that that segment, which was super active in the e-commerce space, was not able to spend a lot on products that they thought were a luxury for them. And those might not be considered luxury globally. So you're talking about supplements, you're talking about fashion, you're talking about tech accessories. For example, a lot of people in our case have been purchasing multivitamins. They've been purchasing things like protein shakes. They've been going for fashion accessories, tech accessories such as headphones, keyboards, things like that. So that was a segment that was primarily missing out on. They did not necessarily have the purchasing power to go out and purchase this product. That's the segment we went after. There were a few reasons for that. The higher ticket size market that sort of is more risky for us as a lending entity. The whole process sort of shifts because when we talk about local players, including banks, the process that they take for those products, that's anywhere between 2 days to up to 14 days to clear one single transaction. We wanted the whole decision-making power to be instantaneous for our customers, which is why that segment, the e-commerce segment below 15,000, seemed like the perfect sweet spot for us.
Have you seen that if, for example, if a seller or retailer has buy now, pay later enabled within their app or store, do you feel the basket size increases compared to, for example, if someone were to purchase like one shirt or one item, they might add like 2 or 3 items just because they know they can pay through, buy now, pay later?
Yeah, so the data so far has shown an average increase of around 25 to 30% on average order value for those merchants who have enabled BNPL. So considering the purchases that have come through Culpay and considering the purchases that they normally do on cash on delivery or other payment methods, there's on average a difference of around 25 to 30%. And there's an increase of repeat purchases as well. So many times what people do is they pay us back before time. So for example, they pay the first installment at the time of transaction, they pay the second installment on time at let's say T plus 30, but they paid the last one before time and then they went back to the merchants and purchased or bought something again. So, BNPL is not just something to be looked at from a lending lens, but it's also a cash flow management tool. There are a lot of customers who can afford products. Spending 10,000 one time might not be an issue for them, but BNPL primarily acts as a cash flow management tool. It's the thought process that why should I pay 10,000 now, whereas I can just pay 1/3 of that today and then the rest over the next 2 months. So that's what we've seen so far.
So let's talk a little bit about the merchant side. So when a customer makes a purchase, let's just say I go and pay $100, for example. Do you go ahead and give the merchant the $100 right away, or do you wait until the product is shipped, delivered, there are no returns, and then you pay the merchant? Or is it just like, do you help out the merchant by increasing their cash flow as soon as the payment is made?
Yeah, so we saw another problem, and this problem was from the merchant side. Primarily, as we all know, more than 80-85% of the transactions in Pakistan come in from cash on delivery. The remaining 10-15% came from credit and debit cards. And historically or traditionally, what these players have done, they take around anywhere between 4 to 14 days to clear those payments. And that for smaller, especially for smaller and middle tier e-commerce players, that's a big issue, right? They don't have access to excess capital. They don't have access to any sort of lending line. So that cash is what they're surviving on, right? So we wanted to solve that problem as well. We pay the merchants within 24 hours. So as soon as the transaction is done, it's verified from our end. Given that there's no issue from the merchants, that in some cases we do see that the product was out of stock. Other than that, if everything seems okay, we clear the payments within 24 hours to the merchant. if there is a return, that's taken care of as we proceed at the whole transaction.
Was there something that you knew about this BNPL before you went into doing this, where you were like, you know what, this is how it should work, or you had some kind of an assumption about things, and then once you started working on this, you realize things are vastly different. So was there some like of a rude awakening that you had while doing this, either from the merchant side or the buyer side?
Yeah, we did. So basically, I spent, I think, around almost a year studying the whole market. Because I was fresh out of college. I was spending a lot of time looking at global models. We all know of big names like Afterpay, FM, Klarna, Zip, all this Australian, US-based, and European players. But when we went out into the market, we realized that the ground realities are much different, and that's where it took us a lot of time to sort of go into the market, get those insights in, and sort of form a solution that was localized. Right, it had to be localized. Pakistan, it's completely different. There's no comparison when it comes to lending in an emerging economy as compared to developed economies like US or Europe or other countries, right? One of our awakening moments was we started with a completely different payment model, something that was being vastly used in the West. That's either you pay the whole amount within 14 days of the transaction. And the second payment method that we had, that was the customer had a total of 6 weeks. So they had 4 installments, 1/4 at the time of transaction and 1/4 after every 2 weeks. We went out to the market with that payment option. We spoke to around more than 700 customers. And the first thing they said was that, in Pakistan, we don't get paid on a weekly or a bi-monthly basis. We get paid every month. So, having any payment in between the month is not going to help us, because my total income during that time period is going to remain the same, right? So we shifted the payment model completely and shifted to 3 monthly installments. So it's 1/3 at the time transaction, 1/3 at T+30, and 1/3 at T+60. And then, how you operate the whole business, the sort of merchants you interact with, I think it was completely different from what we had studied or looked at in the global model. But the good thing is, coming into the market quite early on has given us those insights, those unique insights about the consumer behavior, about the merchant behavior, and we have sort of adapted to that, to the local, I would say, purchasing behavior and the merchant mindset. And perhaps that's the best part of being a startup, right? You are quick to sort of adapt to changes and implement them.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, of course, you're learning a lot of things on the go, and then you're just adopting and trying to figure out what move you should make next. So pretty sure everyone is probably asking you this, and given we have heard so many things about Barwaqt recently. So how does people, when they miss the payments, or buyers who don't make payments, or just completely stop responding, is there a way for you to get hold of them and have them pay? Do you just put that in bad debt, or how does that work out?
And so first thing that we sort of established was that comparing ourselves to the local players, there won't be any goons or any wundas being used by Culpay to sort of harass those customers into paying, right?
Sure.
We are talking to a local player, and we asked them, what do you do when a customer doesn't pay? And their answer was, उनको फिर जाके 3-4-5 लड़के जाके उनको तंग करते रहते हैं रोज की basis पे. So that is such an that we see in Pakistan. 3 to 5 guys, they'll show up at your door every day, and they'll just wait outside till the time you'll be like, okay, it's just 10,000 rupees, let's just get rid of them, I'll pay you. So we did not go for that model. The idea is sort of about educating the customer. So when we report their data to the regulator, it has a negative effect on their credit scoring. So it's about educating the customer and telling them that you may miss out on an opportunity of getting access to formal credit through a financial institution or a bank, on defaulting on a loan where it's like $20 or $40 or anywhere between 6,000 or 8,000 rupees, right? It's not worth it. So the whole idea behind Culpay is, as we go for financial inclusion, we really have to talk to the customer and tell them how credit is actually beneficial for them. And we have sort of seen that behavior change over time as well. A lot of customers, they see the utility in BNPL, they realize that, this is not the only time I will be making a transaction through a buy now, pay later service or Kalpay. So, it's better that I pay back on time. I don't get blacklisted. I don't get my data reported because, we currently, for example, like have a portfolio of more than 325 brands, spread across more than 18 sectors. So they do realize that, I will be interacting with them again, and it's just better to sort of pay it back to them on that.
So when you say like they have like a vested interest in making sure that they make the payments on time, it's not worth it to ruin their credit for 6,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. What do you can you tell me a little bit more about that? What do you mean by that? Because are you like creating a database where you have all the customers so that you can share that with the merchants maybe, or someone else, to make sure that these buyers don't are behaving themselves in the sense that like if they are defaulting, like there's a basically a black book, for lack of a better word, where you put their names saying, hey, don't deal with these people, and I'm sure you're using NIC numbers or something like that, right?
Yeah, so internally what we do was we identify the customer against the national identity card or CNIC number, their email ID and their phone number. Email ID and phone numbers, they're still not that solid because it takes like 5 minutes to create a new email ID. And it is not that difficult to get a new SIM as well. But national identity card number, that's a pretty solid identifier. We block all of those internally, so the customer will never be able to interact or purchase anything using our service or Kalpay. Secondly, there are a few private carriers in Pakistan. We are working with one of them, and we report the data to them. So when they go to a financial institution or any non-banking financial company, that particular FI, they get their credit report from that credit bureau as well. So, a default on Kalpay loan shows up on their profile. So that's how it's being done.
There's a lot of incentives for people to not be basically, default on like such a small amount. So that's really great. So as far as the merchants go, I'm pretty sure your business model, the way it works, is you're not charging the customer, but technically your customer is the seller that is selling on your platform, right, through BNPL. So how do you convince them? I know you mentioned that the basket size increases if you allow BNPL, but how else do you sell them this service where they're like, you know what, I don't understand this, or maybe the market isn't mature enough for people to just know what this service is. So how do you approach that?
Yeah, so you're right about talking about the merchants as our customer. We also see it as a B2B2C model. The end consumer is not charged. There's no interest. We are, of course, Sharia compliant as well. There's no any other fee involved in the whole transaction. So, for example, if it was a 9,000 rupees product, it remains as 9,000 for them. And we have a really strict policy. We had seen some instances with other players as well, and even internally where the merchant was passing on that charges or that cost to the customer. It's written out very clearly on the contract. We disable our plugin if a merchant does that. So, we are very strict when it comes to that. Secondly, when now the merchants over the past 1 or so year, because of other players popping up in the market in the BNPL space, they are very well aware of how the whole BNPL solution works, right? They see the benefits of using this. Our data shows that too. We reach out to them, we tell them how this increases the frequency of customers purchasing, and how this increases the average order value, and they see the value in the whole service. Secondly, talking about the pricing, for credit or debit card companies are already paying somewhere between 2 to 3% on every transaction that comes in through them, right? We charge slightly above that, of course, for the risk that you're taking on for the whole transaction. And they're very comfortable, and they seem to be really happy within working with us within that range. Apart from that, the sort of ideology that we have taken on is to sort of start building case studies within different sectors. For example, if you're talking about athleisure, we almost have like 60-70% coverage on it when it comes to gym wear or athleisure in Pakistan. It sort of creates a ripple effect within the market as well, right? You see 8 of your competitors using a BNPL on their checkout page. You want to adopt that as well, right? So that's one of the approach that we have taken to, and it's done fairly well for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, once you go to like one or two merchants in the same category, like, the word spreads, and they'll realize like, hey, everyone is using it, or my competitors are using it, why shouldn't I use it? So I think that's like a very good way to, like, it's a growth hack in a way. So let me ask you a little bit about your team now, because I'm pretty sure like there's someone in the background looking at all these, orders coming in, analyzing the data, trying to figure out if this person is going to be making the payments on time or not. So there's a lot of work being done in the background, I'm sure. So how big is your team, like, and how do you manage the tech? Is it outsourced, or is it in-house?
Yeah, so from day one, we have Walid and myself, we have had one thesis that we're steady. We are not really focused on burning a lot of cash. And the market's now talking about all of that too. So we do say that we were prepared for all of this long before this happened. Now we're a fairly small team, especially when you're talking about the startup space. We have around 25 people within Kalpe. They're spread across operations, they're spread across data, tech, business development. So you're talking about, of course, like you said, when the whole transaction comes in, there's someone, including the software as well, which is analyzing the data, which is looking at the customer's profile, which is looking at what data points such as what time of the day did they make the transaction, what did they purchase, which store was it, and then we have a post verification team as well. So they are calling up the customer after the transaction, verifying further details, and then we have a separate recovery team. For the customers that we were talking about who do not pay us back on time, there's a separate recovery team that's reaching out to them via emails, via SMS, via calling them up. And so, and then the whole tech that's been built in-house. So initially when we started off, we had outsourced a few things to another entity because Fareed and myself, we both have a business background. We don't have a tech background, so we had to outsource a few things. But then we started building the team in-house. I started looking at the product myself. Now we have around 9 to 10 people working within that domain, including data as well. Who have helped us develop our credit scoring model, who are basically the backbone of the whole product. So it's fairly a small team, but they are doing a really, really good job. Super proud of the people, and super lucky to have that kind of talent working with us as well. It's been like really good sort of working with them so far. We have some senior people as well coming in from other fintechs. We have had fresh hires coming in as well. Fresh graduates coming in working for Kalpe, and they've grown massively as they've worked with us over the past 6 to 12 months. So yeah, it's looking pretty solid right now.
That's awesome. I mean, like you mentioned, like you have 25 people or about 25 people, and it's like that's a lean team. That's still a lot of people, but definitely it's a I mean, if you had raised a lot more money, then of course you would be hiding a lot more. But I think what you have done is very smart, where you have stayed very lean and you're building the product in the background. Like there are your competitors, I'm not going to name anyone, but like they're making a lot of noise out there about a lot of things. And I think it's not worth it if your product is not that great. And like, no one knows whose product will be the one that will win the market in the end. But at least to you, I mean, I did not know that, your team was this big, and like there was a lot of work being done in the background. And so that's really wonderful that, you have been able to do all this without raising much money. That means like, you're really an accountant, like, your background is accounting. My background is in accounting too. So it's always wonderful to see the CEOs and the co-founders who are accountants, that they are very grounded because it's like by default, right? Like by education, we have been trained like to make sure that, there's some sort of cash flow coming in, or be conservative and all those things. So anyways, that's all great. So let me ask you this. So you talked about like, the market and everything in terms of like, how merchants perceive BNPL and all that stuff. So during e-commerce checkout, or any kind of checkout, of course, there are a lot of steps, right? Like you come to the checkout page, you check out. From that point on to the point where the customer gets the product, is there something that you feel that is like maybe you wish you had more control over? Like it could be logistics, it could be the user experience that is from the merchant side, or something else that you feel like you wish you could have more control over that.
Yeah. So talking about the whole process, it's a fairly simple process when it comes to interacting with Calpay. So, for example, if you're on Shopify store, you enter your shipping details, you enter your personal details, you select the shipping method. The next step is you select the payment method, and that's where you see Calpay as a payment option. When you redirect it to our page for an existing user, they simply have to log in using their phone number. They get an OTP. They select the payment method that they want to pay with. To pay the down payment, and that's it. Overall, talking about the whole experience, I think there are some restrictions when it comes to a few platforms such as Shopify. We don't get enough data against the transaction that's coming in, and we got to reach out to the merchant to sort of be able to collect that data. So if and those are sort of very strict restrictions from the platform, right? From the platform side, so there's not much that can be done when it comes to that. Secondly, I think we would have loved to have more control over product quality, because that's where a lot of issues with regards to returns or exchanges come in. And for us as a BNPL, the thing is we incur a certain percentage or a certain cost on every transaction as well, right? We have some payment providers that are working with us. And when we have to refund that money to the customer because the product was not up to the quality, or there was some issues with the product, we have to bear that cost. So I think that's one place where we have love to have more control. Otherwise, we have a really strict scoring mechanism for our merchants as well. So it's a proper thorough check that we do. We go into depth before onboarding any merchant. If there are persistent issues with regards to product quality, we offboard them, of course. Because we want to promote good merchants, good products, and inherently that results in getting good customers.
If you could control one thing, that would be definitely the products. Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense, because in the end, I'm sure like a lot of people just a lot of buyers reach out to you and say product nahi milaya, product bekar tha, third class tha, and you're like, what, I didn't sell it to you, I'm just taking the payment, so please redirect your complaints to the retailer.
Yeah, that's another sort of an issue that we face during the whole transaction, right? People don't realize that we act as a payment provider or a payment service provider inherently, right? We have given you access to a platform to split those payments into three. We don't have any control over the logistics. They reach out to us saying that I placed this order 4 days ago, I still haven't received it. The product quality wasn't up to the mark. I ordered this thing in blue color, I received one in black. So they don't really realize that it's not under us. We don't have any involvement in the whole operations of the product delivery, of the product quality. So that sort of consumes a lot of time when it comes to our customer experience team as well.
Let me ask you this: have you had an instance where you went to a merchant and they said like, we want like branding, complete branding. We want our own branding everywhere. So on the checkout page, you can't put your, we will allow you to provide us services in the background using API or some sort of other plugin, but we won't let your name be out there. We want like, unified experience for the customer. So your name won't be there, but yes, we will be using you. Have you had that instances?
We actually haven't had that instance currently. We have seen global players do that. They sort of what they have done is they have white labeled their services, but that's a completely different model because that's where the merchant is taking on the risk as well. And being in the Pakistani market, I'm sure not a lot of merchants would be really excited about doing that. So we haven't seen that instance so far.
Let me ask you this one last question. What does success look like to you? Like, what would be your North Star metric, or is there something that you wish to achieve in the next few years, like, or just like in general, like what does success look like to you?
For us at Calpay, we from day one have been very problem oriented. As soon as we realized that we are actually making difference to a lot of lives by giving them access to easy credit. That's what success means to us, and that can result in multiple metrics, the number of loans that you're booking, the GMV that you have done, how many new customers or how many repeat customers are using that. There are multiple metrics, of course, that we are looking at internally as well. But And the whole idea is to sort of solve this much needed problem of not getting access to credit in Pakistan as consumers. Personally, it took me 2 years to get an access to credit card. That too only because I knew someone really well. I met someone, they were in the UK working for Credit Suisse. They've worked for banks like ABN AMRO at a director level. They came back to Pakistan now a couple of years ago. The banks were not willing to issue them a credit card because they did not have a salary slip from a Pakistani entity, right? So we all of us at some point in time we have seen those issues with traditional banks. As soon as we start feeling that Kalpay is actually making a difference to hundreds of thousands of lives by giving them access to credit, that's going to be success for us. But of course, that's not where the story ends. That's actually when the story is actually going to become, because there's a lot of other verticals that are still to be explored. There are a lot of verticals apart from this consumption-based lending that we're focusing on internally as well. And plan on expanding into those in the future.
Love it. Love the response to this question. Anyways, I just wish you all the best, and hopefully you will raise funding very soon, and we'll hear about it, and hopefully you will alert me when you do that. It's been a pleasure hosting you and lovely chatting with you, and first time talking, so it was really nice talking to you, and best of luck.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me. And inshallah, you'll definitely hear something about this really soon.
Thanks for listening to the Misal podcast. I hope you enjoyed the podcast and will thank me by writing a review or sharing it on social media. Make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks again. See you soon.